do you really think that we have free will? And what I mean by that is our life just a movie that was already has a beginning and an ending and all the things that happens in between? And our experience of our life is just us watching the movie play out. Just watching a movie isn't going to change the outcome of the movie, right? The same movie, you watch it a million times, it's going to happen exactly the same way. It has a beginning, the ending, the protagonist does this and that, and then you have the ending. So the question is, if we don't have free will, then that's what it is. You're just watching a movie. So you're experiencing something that has been predetermined to happen. Or do you believe that your choices matter, that your life will take an unexpected turn into different avenues and outcomes depending on the choices you make on a day-to-day basis? I used to be on the camp of free will, and then I became more of a believer that everything is predetermined. Every single decision you make was gonna play out exactly that way. And then, I don't know, I'm kind of in between the two now. But the interesting thing is what I found out, and I don't know if this is true, but just based on some of the books I read and interviews I watched, is that the cosmologists and physicists, people who are into particle physics like Einstein and those type of scientists, they tend to believe that free will does not exist. And they base that on the fact that if you look at the universe and reality, based on what we know today, everything is made of elemental particles, atoms. You've seen the picture, the protons and neutrons and electrons swinging around. Everything is made up pretty much of empty space, and then you have a little bit of matter in the world. So they said something very interesting, that if you had a powerful enough computer where you could see where every single atom was at every given time in the universe, then you would be able to predict exactly what's going to play out next. Just imagine when we're playing pool, right? And you have all the billiard, the balls, they're all lined up in a certain way. So if they're lined up and I hit this one over here, you know that it's going to affect the other ones, and you will be able to predict that the first ball is going to hit the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth and so on. And that's what's going to make the 8 or 10 ball move, right? So if you were able to tell the position and the speed and the properties of each of those balls at all times, you would be able to predict exactly what's going to play out if you had a powerful enough computer to calculate that, right? So that's how they thought, and I think that's more of a classical physics. But then came along quantum physics. And have you guys heard of something called the Heisenberg uncertainty principle?
I've heard of Heisenberg. I think so, but teach us again.
So Einstein, he's more about the big things and theory of relativity, right? Einstein's all about relativity, and Einstein's theories have been proven to be very successful. But then another school of physics came along, and that's the quantum physics. And today, I don't think scientists have been able to unify Einstein's theories, which work really well, and we've been proven that his predictions are true. But then so is quantum physics, and I think quantum physics is actually more successful in explaining the universe. The problem is the two of them have not been unified together. So one of them needs some more work. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is in quantum physics with Heisenberg uncertainty principle, basically what it comes down to is you cannot predict, or you can't tell the speed of a particle if you know the position, and not the other way around. So if you know its position, you won't be able to tell its speed. Or if you know its speed, then you won't be able to tell its position. So it's one or the other. And it's so weird with quantum physics that you can have something called superposition. So a particle can be basically in two places at the same time. You all heard about the double slit experiment. So the double slit is when they shoot particles through a hole, and we think that it should behave like a particle. So you would see like splatters. Like imagine shooting a paintball at the wall, and that's what you see. But the moment you try to observe it and measure it, it changes and it becomes a wave pattern instead of a particle pattern. So then that means that it's both a particle and a wave at the same time, which does not make any sense at all.
But why is it when we start viewing it? That's what freaks me out about it.
It's not we viewing it, so that's where some people kind of get it wrong. It's when you measure it, and measuring could mean it doesn't just mean viewing it. It just means observing it in a way.
So when they're observing it deeper, it becomes a wave. But when they see it at first sight, it looks like it's just random particles.
So when you observe it, like when you measure it, then it changes. So they talk about something called a probability wave. So it's like all these different things where that one particle could become. It could be anything, but the moment you measure it, it takes one form. It collapses into that one position or one speed, right? So then I thought about that and I'm like, well, that's proof that there is free will. Because you have that probability wave that it could take any form and it will not take its form until it's measured or observed or acted upon. So then that to my mind speaks of free will, that everything in the universe, if you believe quantum physics, it's always in this flux, it's always in this state of infinite possibility or probability until somebody acts on it or you make a decision. And then it collapses into whatever that one thing is. So that's how my mind thinks that there is free will. Everything in your life is this massive probability wave. And it's like every decision you make on a day-to-day basis just collapses that probability wave and it takes its form. But again, that could have been predetermined as well, right? It could have been you're just playing out that movie and that's what you're watching.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about.